Hey everyone, Chris here from the Computer Stuff channel, kicking off a new channel called Buying Habit. Anyway, to start off this new channel, we are going to review the Moccamaster as well as the Chemex Ottomatic 2.0. Now, we've reviewed the Moccamaster in detail in a previous review on the Computer Stuff channel, whereas the Chemex Ottomatic we have yet to do. But I thought it was a good opportunity to be able to compare both of these devices, as they're both similar in terms of features as well as price bracket, to figure out which one makes a better cup of coffee and which one you should buy yourself. Quick interruption before we get into it. On this channel, we buy every device we review with our own money. That way we can bring you an unbiased, no BS, no sponsored review. That allows you as the buyer to get a review that's authentic and truthful. We release content weekly, so if you would support this channel by hitting that like button and subscribing, we'd be very grateful. Now, quick heads up, I'm not gonna go into an in-depth review on the Moccamaster or the Chemex Ottomatic. I have an in-depth review on the Moccamaster if you're interested, but ultimately what I wanted to achieve from this video is to help you as the buyer to determine which one would be a better coffee machine for your use. Now, before we get into it, I'm gonna go ahead and flick these switches on, and we're going to brew a cup of coffee while we talk. Then we're gonna taste test them and see which one tastes better. Anyway, let's get into it really quick. The Moccamaster is like lauded as the workhorse of all coffee makers. Basically, this is the coffee machine that you buy once and you never have to replace. Everything inside of this thing is user replaceable. It's built well and it does just one thing, and that's brew coffee. There's no fancy Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or any gimmicks like that. Now, I do have some complaints about the Moccamaster, namely that when you buy one of these units, it only comes with a pack of 3 filters, which I think is just ridiculously cheap on Moccamaster's part. But the other thing is the use of cheap plastic. Basically, everything on this unit, it just feels cheap, and for a $350 machine, I think that that's unacceptable. I also don't like how much plastic there is that comes in contact with my hot coffee. Especially in a world where we've learned that microplastics are no good for you, it's a little unfortunate that they have so much of it on here. Now, with that said, the grass is not necessarily greener with the Chemex Ottomatic. Now, while the glass carafe doesn't have any plastic in it like the glass carafe on the Moccamaster, you still ultimately have a plastic like water well for it, and where the brew head comes out, basically there's plastic tubing on the inside of this thing. I messaged the representatives at Chemex Ottomatic to confirm that, and I'll go ahead and post in the B-roll basically what they said in their email, but ultimately there is still some plastic that comes in contact with the water. Not as much as the Moccamaster, and ultimately this machine does actually feel a little bit better put together than the Moccamaster, but still, if you are on the hunt for a true plastic-free unit, neither of these things are it. Let's get into price for a moment. Both of these machines average about the $350 price tag. You can find both of them on sale for much less than that. The Chemex Ottomatic you can actually find on like AliExpress for like 150 bucks. No, it's not a scam, it is the legit thing. The Moccamaster, it has like 100 different models, so you can just find whichever one fits for you. But again, ultimately during like Black Friday and Christmas, they tend to lower the price tags on these things. The Moccamaster brews what is referred to as a gold standard cup of coffee. Basically, the gods of the coffee at SCA decided that a specific temperature and brew time produces what they call the gold standard cup of coffee, ultimately making the best tasting cup you can have. The Chemex Ottomatic, they claim that it tries to hit the temperatures of a gold cup, but it has not been officially certified as a standard gold cup of coffee. Now, the Chemex Ottomatic is kind of famous, or rather the Chemex itself is sort of famous. This beaker has been around for a long, long time, and it's very recognizable. So ultimately, instead of doing the pour over that you would normally do yourself, the idea of the Ottomatic is to just sort of automate that pour over motion. Whereas in the Moccamaster bills itself more as a drip coffee maker, but ultimately the idea is that you're immersing the water within the grinds through a paper filter on both machines. And while we're on the subject of paper filters, let's go ahead and talk about them. The paper filter on the Chemex is asinine. It's huge. I mean, it's a dinner plate, really, that sort of folds up, and then you put the coffee grinds in, put it on top, and it brews. Whereas the Moccamaster just has a slightly more sensical coffee filter, a little smaller, less paper waste. I'd also like to say that the Moccamaster is compatible with a larger array of coffee filters. I've grabbed almost any kind of coffee filter off the shelf. They all work just fine in a Moccamaster, whereas the Chemex Ottomatic, or actually the Chemex really in general, you really have to use these paper ones. Both units can be equipped with a reusable, one of these like gold coffee filters, but ultimately I think paper tastes better and is also, there's less chance of plastic and other shit getting in your coffee with using the paper ones. And I believe it was the guy that invented the AeroPress said that your average like 1,000 pack of coffee filters is the equivalent of like one newspaper. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose to believe that, and then ultimately hope that I'm still saving the environment despite using paper. Now, we can already see that the Moccamaster has finished brewing its coffee. Now, I used the same amount of water between both units, and the Chemex is still going, okay? So the Moccamaster is considerably faster than the Chemex Ottomatic. Now, I don't think that that's necessarily a big deal. I mean, for a full cup of coffee, you're talking about a difference between like 8 minutes and 10 minutes. Not a huge deal. But that said, that is why the Moccamaster gets its gold certification, standardization from the coffee gods, because ultimately it does brew it faster, which is what the SCA likes to have in their drip coffee machines. Now the big question is whether or not that affects the taste of the coffee, and ultimately I kind of think it might. Spoiler alert, the Moccamaster does taste better. I'm gonna go ahead and do a taste test once this one is finished brewing, but ultimately myself, my wife, my friends, anybody I serve these things to have all preferred the taste of the Moccamaster coffee over the Chemex Ottomatic. Now that's not to say the Chemex Ottomatic creates a bad cup. It is a fine cup, it just doesn't taste as good. So if your goal is to have the best tasting cup of coffee, well, there is in fact a clear winner here. But let's go ahead and talk about a couple of other quick features between the two of them. In terms of switches on both of these machines, the Moccamaster has two. You've got the power button and then you've got a half carafe and a full carafe. What that basically does is adjust the timing, temperature, water volume, plate temperature, a few other things in the Moccamaster so it can create a good cup of coffee depending on whether you want full or half carafe. With the automatic from Chemex, you have a 1 and a 2. The 1 basically means that it brews the coffee, and then it turns on the hot plate. If you do it on the 2, it does not turn on the hot plate. The idea behind that is that you can create like a Japanese-style iced coffee where you put ice at the bottom of it and let it brew on top of it. I actually have yet to test that feature, but it is apparently pretty popular and people seem to like it. And apparently it does in fact change the taste of your coffee. So that's kind of cool. In terms of servicing both of these units, as I said, the Moccamaster is like fully user serviceable. The parts are pretty easy to clean. Pretty much everything can get tossed into a dishwasher except for the water bin here at the top. Same is actually not to be said about the Chemex Automatic. It is a little trickier to clean primarily because of the shape of the Chemex beaker. And you can't take the water reservoir off of here either. That is, you know, I don't know, like, I kind of wish you could take the water reservoir off these things so you could throw those in the dishwasher every so often, but as long as you're not putting like, I don't know, oily water or bad water or something in them, I guess it's not really something you need to worry about too much. And I guess there's obviously an engineering and design reason why they chose to keep them on the machines. Regardless, that is something to keep in mind that if you're in an office environment where there may not be a dishwasher, it might in fact be a little bit easier to clean the Moccamaster over the Chemex Automatic. That said, again, this is kind of a nitpicky thing and I'm not sure that's going to be a huge deal breaker for anybody. And then a final point to get into before we do our taste test. Who are these machines for? Ultimately, this is for your coffee enthusiast, somebody that likes to grind their own fresh beans and have a perfect cup of coffee every morning. If you are in the market for a machine like this, it means that you care about the taste of your coffee instead of just buying some instant Folgers crap over the counter. With that said, you don't need to be a coffee snob in order to appreciate the nuances that these both produce. Again, I do think that the Moccamaster produces a better cup of coffee. I think that in terms of who this machine is for, it's basically somebody that just doesn't want to ever think about their coffee machine again. They want a good drip coffee maker to replace their Mr. Coffee, and it's just going to sit on their counter, look good while doing so, because it is a handsome looking machine. Frankly, both are, although I do really like the retro look of the Moccamaster. It was designed in the 70s, I think, 60s, 70s. Anyway, point is though, is that this is something that is just going to sit on your counter until the day you die. I'm not sure I can necessarily say the same about the Chemex. I do think that the Chemex, while it feels better built and a little bit more premium, it does feel better in the hands, I have a feeling that the insides are probably not as well put together as they are on the Moccamaster. And it's also not as easily user serviceable either. Ultimately, Moccamaster has set itself up in a position where if something breaks on here, they'll send you a part and it's done. Whereas the Chemex Automatic, you probably got to throw it away and buy a new one. I'd imagine that somebody looking into both of these machines is probably somebody that appreciates a good cup of coffee. And with that said, if you want the best taste, that is the Moccamaster. So I think that pretty much says it all right there. Which one should you go with? Probably the Moccamaster. Now, with that said, if you really want limited plastic in contact with your coffee, then it's a no-brainer. You gotta go with the Chemex Automatic. But considering the Moccamaster tastes better, it brews faster, it's probably a little bit more reliable, and it's easier to service, I think bang for your buck, this is probably the way to go. Anyway, let's go ahead and taste test both of these coffees. All right, these are both piping hot looking. The coffee on both of them is super clear, and that's thank you to the paper filters, of course. The coffee and clarity on both of them is pretty similar though, and with the, I don't know, I think the Chemex just edging just ever so slightly a little bit less dark, but you know, you can adjust that obviously on your bean to water ratio in general. And by the way, that is something nice about both of these machines is that you can adjust the bean and water ratio to suit your preferences. Anyway, let's test the Moccamaster first. A lot of depth to the bean. You can kind of taste the chocolatiness notes. By the way, I'm using Purity beans. Good brand. Clean, not bitter. Tastes just like a good black cup of coffee. I enjoy it. The Chemex is good. It just feels like it's missing a little bit of something, just a little less depth. And I think that's beyond just the color difference between the both of them as well. I do think you could probably adjust the ratios on the Chemex to match the Moccamaster, but in general, it just doesn't quite have the horsepower that the Moccamaster does. But ultimately clean and tasty. I guarantee that if you were to compare these side by side, almost everybody would probably appreciate the Moccamaster's cup over the Chemex. With that said, is the Chemex a bad cup? By no means. And if you could find it for a couple $100 less than the Moccamaster, I'd probably say go for it. But yeah, with that said, despite the things I don't care for on the Moccamaster, I do think that you get an amazing cup of coffee out of this thing. And for my money, I do think it's probably worth going with the Moccamaster over the Chemex. I just wish that Moccamaster would get rid of some of the cheap plastic on this thing and just make it a little bit more, I don't know, basically, you're paying $350, make me feel like I'm paying $350 for it. So anyway, that is the Chemex Automatic 2.0 versus the Moccamaster. Hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us in the comments section. Please like and subscribe, and we'll be back with another video really soon.